talked a lot about farming simulator games on this channel. Now, I'm going to talk about the one that truly began to define the genre. Harvest Moon 64 was the game that introduced 3D graphics to the series, as well as several aspects that would become recurring features from this point onward. The story takes place in Flowerbud Village, the same town that was in the original SNES game. It's 2 generations after those events, and your player character has decided to take over their deceased grandfather's farm. You also get to meet the grandchildren of the original villagers, which is also the introduction to some of the series' most memorable characters. However, for those that are more familiar with their Mineral Town incarnations, it might be a bit surprising to see how different many of these characters are. For example, Anne and Gray are rancher siblings, as opposed to being an innkeeper's daughter and a blacksmith's apprentice, respectively. Marie is still a librarian, but now she's the mayor's daughter instead of Basil's, who is actually Potpourri's father in this one. Which version of these characters is a superior one is largely based on personal preference. As for me, it's a bit of both. I prefer Potpourri's characterization in 64 because that was before she became more and more childish as she kept making reappearances in later games. Rick is also less annoying, and has no relationship to Potpourri and Lilia. However, I also like Gotch's gruff but caring, if a bit depressed personality in the Mineral Town games, more than his abusive one in 64. But whichever characterization you prefer, there's a lot more depth to them than before. It makes the villagers feel more like distinct people. This particularly extends to the bachelorettes. While marriage has been a feature since the very beginning, Harvest Moon 64 made it so that it feels like you're actually developing a relationship with your chosen sweetheart. Specifically, this game introduced heart events, which are cutscenes you get to see as a girl's affection towards you increases. Most of them are very similar to each other, just with different bachelorettes, but they're all very cute, and feel like the two of you are growing closer as a couple. There's also some really sweet mini-events that'll happen too, such as a girl coming over to your farm to give you a snack, as well as letters sent to you as the seasons change. Speaking of cute, I really like the graphics for this game. While they might be outdated on a technical level, I think that they age very well visually. I also love how much personality the animations have, even though there are still character portraits to get a better idea of their emotions. And really, I feel like the character animations are something that many of the older games do better than some of the newer ones. I recently replayed a bit of the Story of Seasons Mineral Town remake, and while I still enjoyed it quite a bit, I really began to notice how lacking some of the character animations were compared to the original GBA games. Even the very first SNES's games' animations have more liveliness to them than this remake made with much more modern technology. Come on, Marvelous, where's the dog peeing animations? I guess the idea was that the character portrait would compensate for a lack of character model expressiveness. But for me, having both of these things was something that made these older games so charming in the first place. Another feature that 64 introduced were rival bachelors that might marry the bachelorettes if you don't. Not only that, but if they did get married, then they would also have children. I've mentioned before that this is a mechanic that I really like in these games, even though rival children have rarely appeared since then. As I previously said, it makes it feel like the town is actually growing around you, instead of only you and your spouse being allowed to have families of their own. The thing with rival marriages in this game too, is that the rivals would only pursue their respective bachelorettes if you became close friends with said rivals. So unless you're trying to make friends with everyone all at once, it's actually pretty difficult to get a rival couple married by accident. Sadly, we're probably never going to get rival marriages in this series again, let alone rival children. Something else that has been seldom seen since then is the photo album. Pictures will be added to as you accomplish certain life events in the game, such as winning the horse race or getting married, kind of like an achievement system. It's a small feature, but it's very fitting with the game's themes and the memories it will make throughout life, even in the most humble of livelihoods. Funny enough, if you want to complete the photo album, you'll have to reach maximum heart levels with all the bachelorettes, even though you can only marry one of them. Basically, you have to become a heartbreaking deuce if you want to achieve 100% completion. More challenging than that, though, is getting the infamous party photo. Apparently, this photo has eluded even the most dedicated Harvest Moon players for years. But now, the requirements for it have been shared all over the internet. There are several very specific things that you need to do. You need to have at least eaten 6 of the red power nuts, have all the home upgrades, be married with a child, have grass planted on at least 80% of your farmland, and have at least one chicken in good health. You also have to have 250 happiness points, have your dog's affection at 200 or more, have your wife's affection at 250 or more, and have a combined affection of 2,494 or more among the villagers. And you need to have accomplished all of this by the first day of your third summer. And I thought getting all of the colonies in Mineral Town was hard. Thankfully, playing the game without worrying about achievements is a much less stressful ordeal. While there's plenty of added features, the core gameplay is still pretty simple, as most of which you'll be doing are farm chores to make money. Apparently, I wasn't as good as I thought it was at this, because I accidentally starved my very first chicken to death. I thought I was feeding it every day, but it turns out that, much like in Save the Homeland, you need to put the animal feed in specific food bins. Which again, I think is dumb, because I can just about guarantee you that an animal is not going to give two craps about whether or not their food is placed in a container with their name on it. The biggest challenge you'll likely face is working against the clock. Much like in the SNES, the time in Harvest Moon 64 proceeds very quickly. It can be tough trying to get everything you want accomplished in a day. However, once you start to get a routine going, it becomes a fair bit easier. One of the things that can help you is exploiting some of the game's many glitches. This is probably one of the glitchiest entries of the series, right next to Harvest Moon DS. There's a pretty good in-game time saver for upgrading tools, for example. What you want to do is go to the bakery on a sunny day, so that you won't gain fatigue points. Then, you'll want to use a specific tool over and over again. And because you're indoors, time won't pass. Once your stamina depletes, you'll want to order a lot of water, which is free. Repeat this process until your tool is upgraded. Granted, this does take up a lot of real-world time. However, if you have the patience for it, you can get all of your tools at maximum level on your very first in-game day. If you want to raise a girl's affection more quickly, there's a handy music box glitch you can use. First, make sure that you're friends with Rick. Then, interact with the tree next to the watering hole on your farm to find a treasure map. Follow the map's instructions to find a specific spot on your farm, where you'll want to use your hoe on it 10 times. That's when you'll find a broken music box. Once you do, take it to Rick, who will repair it for you. You can then give the now fixed music box to the bachelor of your choice for a nice increase in affection. In theory, you should only be able to obtain one of these music boxes. However, after you've given it away, you can dig at that same spot again and receive another broken music box. This means you pretty much have an infinite supply of music boxes spawning from your farm, and you can repeat the process over and over again. Throughout the year, there will be horse and dog races, where you can bet on the winner for medals you can then exchange for prizes. Placing bets will cost you money. However, there's a simple trick for getting free bets. On the Odos screen, you'll place your bets. Once you're done, you'll want to press the B button to cancel, instead of the A button to confirm. Doing this will give you all of your money back, but the bets will still register. Which again, means free bets and zero risks. Harvest Moon 64 is not only one of the most important entries in the series, but it's also often considered one of the best. And now that I played it for myself, I definitely think so too. While it might not have all of the bells and whistles of later games, one thing that it doesn't lack is heart. It took everything that made the SNES original great and vastly improved it, while still retaining the intimacy of simulating life in a small farming village. While it might seem lacking in some ways compared to more recent entries, I think that even newer players can see why this one is so beloved. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to click like, and subscribe if you want to see more.